I'm Violet. I'm 29, and on the day my sister got married, my parents gave her the one thing I thought I'd earned more than anyone else in the world, our family home. They handed her the keys and the deed in front of 100 cheering guests. While I stood there holding the phone, I used to pay their mortgage every month. Everyone clapped for the most generous parents ever. None of them knew that without me, that house would have been gone years ago. And that day, as my mother hugged Emily and called her our angel, I quietly decided I wasn't going to be their safety net ever again. I grew up in that house, the creaky stairs, the dent in the hallway where my dad dropped the toolbox, the little purple handprints on the garage wall from when Emily and I painted it at 8 years old. Back then, it felt like home belonged to all of us. I never imagined it could be turned into a prize. My parents, Linda and Robert, weren't bad people when we were kids. Strict, yes. Favoritism? Definitely. But I always told myself it wasn't that deep. I was the older, responsible one, and Emily was the baby. As we grew up, that gap never really closed. When I was 22, my dad lost his job. It was supposed to be temporary. It'll be a few months, he said, tapping his spreadsheet. We just need to tighten belts a bit. A few months became a year, then another. My mom's small part-time job at the pharmacy didn't cover much. Bills started piling up: electricity, gas, mortgage, credit cards. Meanwhile, I had just gotten my first decent job in marketing. I was paying off my own student loans, driving a beat-up car, and sharing an apartment with a roommate. I still remember the first time my mom called me, crying, "Violet, honey, we're behind on the mortgage. Just a couple of months. If the bank calls, just say we're sending it soon." I checked my account. I had enough for my rent, my loan payment, groceries, and barely enough to cover what they were missing. I could have said no. I wish I had, just once, early on. Instead, I said, "I'll transfer it." That was the start. Then it became, "Can you help with the electricity? They're threatening to shut it off." Then, "They're adding late fees, sweetheart." We didn't realize how much interest. Bills, one by one, quietly became my responsibility. I set them up on autopay because watching my parents panic every month was worse than watching my bank balance shrink. I paid their mortgage. I paid their utilities. I even paid off one of their maxed out credit cards in chunks so their credit score wouldn't completely collapse. All the while, Emily, my lovely, carefree little sister, floated through life. "Violet, you worry too much." She'd laugh when I mentioned money. "Mom and Dad always figure it out." Of course she thought that. She never saw me wiring money at midnight. Emily always lived at home. She had a waitressing job, then a part-time boutique job, then time off to figure things out. She had brand new clothes, hair appointments, weekends away with friends. My mom would proudly send me photos of Emily's latest dress. "Doesn't she look beautiful?" She'd text. I'd be staring at my banking app, calculating how many days I had until my next payday. Whenever I hinted at the imbalance, my mom brushed it off. "You're the older one, Violet. You're so strong, so independent." Emily is delicate, delicate. That word stuck in my teeth like something sour. By 27, I had paid almost 3 years of their mortgage and God knows how many other bills. I didn't brag about it. I didn't tell my friends. Part of me was weirdly proud. I was the one keeping my family afloat. Sometimes my dad would pat my shoulder and say, "We'll pay you back one day, kiddo. Maybe when the house is fully ours. We'll put your name on it too." That sentence was like a tiny thread I clung to. One day, whenever it hurt when I skipped dinners out with coworkers or turned down trips because I needed to save, I'd remind myself, that house will be partly mine. Not as a prize, but as recognition. As proof that my sacrifices meant something. Then Emily met Jason. Jason was charming, handsome, and came from a family that loved appearances. Fancy engagement parties, big weddings, perfectly curated Instagram lives. They got engaged a year after they met. My mom called me the night after he proposed, squealing through the phone, "Violet, he did it, he proposed. Oh, you should have seen the ring." I was genuinely happy for her. I loved my sister, even if I resented how lopsided everything felt. I offered to help with the wedding, thinking she meant invitations or decorations. My mom had other ideas. "Weddings are so expensive," she sighed. "It would mean so much if you could, contribute a little, just to make it special for your sister." I laughed, thinking she was joking. "Mom, I already pay your mortgage and bills." I reminded her gently. Silence. Then, "Yes, and we're so grateful, darling." But this is Emily's big day. I remember staring at my laptop screen, at the spreadsheet where I tracked everything I paid. The total at the bottom made my chest tighten. Mom, I said slowly, I don't think I can help more right now. Her voice turned cold in that familiar way. You know, sometimes it feels like you keep score, Violet. Family doesn't keep score. That was the first crack. I started to notice the little comments. My mom telling relatives, Emily deserves the best. She's our baby. My dad joking, Violet will understand. She's practical. And then, one Sunday, I visited to drop off some paperwork my dad needed for a refinancing offer the bank had sent. I walked into the kitchen and heard my parents and Emily talking in low voices. They stopped when they saw me. What did I miss? I asked, putting my keys down. My mom forced a smile. Nothing, sweetie. Just wedding stuff. My dad couldn't meet my eyes. Emily suddenly found the floor very interesting. My stomach dropped. What wedding stuff? I pressed. You all went silent the second I walked in. Emily's eyes flicked to our parents, then to me. Just plans, she said. I folded my arms. What kind of plans? It was my dad who cracked first. He always was the worst liar. Emily, they're going to find out eventually, he muttered. My mom shot him a look, then sighed. Fine, she said. But don't overreact, Violet. Those words don't overreact are always a red flag. My mom took a breath. We're going to give the house to Emily and Jason, she said. As a wedding gift. For a moment, I thought I'd misheard. You're, what? We're transferring the house to them, my dad said, still not looking at me. They'll start their life together here. It makes sense. The house is big. They want kids. And you? Well, you're independent. You'll buy your own place eventually. The room went quiet except for the hum of the refrigerator. I glanced at Emily. She looked nervous but excited. You knew? I asked her, my voice barely above a whisper. She winced. They told me last week. I wanted to tell you, but they said they would. My throat burned. Let me get this straight, I said slowly. I have been paying the mortgage on this house for years. I've covered utilities, debts, late fees, and you're giving the house to Emily? As a gift? My mom's face hardened. Don't make it sound ugly, she said. You helped us because you love us. This isn't a transaction. Then why did Dad say you'd put my name on the house one day? I shot back. My dad flinched. I just meant we'd find a way to thank you. By giving everything to Emily? I asked. Emily's eyes filled with tears. Vi, it's not like that, she said. They just thought that you deserved it more? I snapped. Because you're delicate. My mom's voice sharpened. Don't speak to your sister like that. You're being selfish. You have a good job. You're single. You don't have kids. Emily is starting a family. Something inside me snapped. I'm being selfish? I repeated. I've been quietly funding this house for years while you've pampered her, and I'm selfish? My dad rubbed his temples. Violet, please. It's just a house. Just a house. The house they couldn't afford without me. I picked up my bag with shaking hands. Well then, I said, you can pay for just a house yourselves from now on. That night, I went home and opened my laptop. I pulled up my bank statements. Every transfer, every auto pay, every bill I'd covered. I exported them all into a spreadsheet and stared at the total. It was more than the original down payment my parents had made when they first bought the house. I cried. Not just because of the money, but because of what it represented. Years of my life. My 20s, poured into a mortgage I apparently had no emotional right to. After an hour of ugly crying, I did something that terrified me. I canceled all the auto pays, mortgage, utilities, credit card payments, everything. My phone buzzed almost immediately with banking alerts. Then silence. The next morning, my mom called. Sweetie, the mortgage payment didn't go through, she said. Did your card expire? No, I said calmly. I canceled it. What? I canceled all the payments, I repeated. Since the house is Emily's wedding gift, she and her fiancé can take over the bills. My mom inhaled sharply. Don't be dramatic, Violet. We're still living here, and I was still living here emotionally when you decided to give it away, I replied. Consider this my gift, independence. She launched into guilt, accusations, tears. I listened, then hung up, for the first time in years. My money was mine. And that's when the idea for my revenge started to form. Revenge, for me, wasn't slashing tires or screaming at weddings. It was truth and boundaries. and making them actually feel the consequences they'd been shielding themselves from with my bank account. I spent the next few weeks quietly preparing. I found a therapist because I realized this wasn't just about money, it was about years of being the strong one they could dump responsibility on. I also met with a lawyer, not to sue them, but to ask a simple question. Is there any legal record showing I've been paying their mortgage? He explained that morally, I had a case for being furious. Legally, not so much unless there was a written agreement, which there wasn't, but he said, you can absolutely stop paying. And you can absolutely document everything. So I did. I put everything into a folder, bank statements, text messages where my parents begged for help and promised to make it up to me, and a timeline. It was like writing a story I'd been living in denial about. Meanwhile, the wedding planning was in full swing. My parents were stressed. Emily was overwhelmed, and Jason's family wanted everything perfect. The house was being painted, decorated, made Instagram worthy. Emily called me one night. Vi, are you really going to stay mad forever? She asked, are you really going to accept a house paid for by your sister and call it a gift? I countered. Silence. She finally whispered, I didn't ask them to do it. They offered. You could have said no, I said, or at least insisted they talk to me first. She didn't respond. We ended the call awkwardly. 2 months before the wedding, the cracks started to show. My dad called me in a panic. Violet, the bank sent a notice, he said. We're 2 months behind on the mortgage. They're threatening late fees and potential foreclosure. I'm sorry, I said, my voice calm. I can't help. Can't or won't. He snapped. Won't, I said. You made it very clear this house isn't for me. So why would I keep paying for it? He sputtered, angry. You're punishing us. I'm letting you live with your choices, I replied. There's a difference. The wedding day arrived anyway. They'd scraped together enough to get the mortgage barely current, probably with help from Emily and Jason or maybe some quick loan. The house looked beautiful from the outside, fresh paint, flowers, the works. I almost didn't go. But some twisted part of me needed closure. I needed to see it all play out, to truly let go. The ceremony was in a fancy venue, all white roses and soft music. Emily looked stunning in her dress. For a moment, watching her walk down the aisle, I remembered us as kids in that same house, playing wedding with bedsheets and plastic rings. My heart ached. I wasn't a villain in my own story. I still loved her. That's what made it so painful. The reception was when it happened. After the speeches, my dad took the microphone. We have a very special gift for our baby girl and her new husband, he announced, voice thick with emotion. Emily, Jason, we are giving you our family home. The crowd gasped and then erupted into applause. My mom theatrically held up an envelope with the deed. Emily covered her mouth, pretending to be shocked. Though we both knew she'd known for months, I watched, feeling strangely detached. Like I was watching a movie. I'd already read spoilers for. Then my dad added, we couldn't have done it without the grace of God. That was it. The rage snapped back into place. I hadn't planned to say anything that night. But in that moment, something inside me refused to let the lie stand one more second. When the applause died down, I stood up. Actually, I said, loudly enough for the nearby tables to hear. You couldn't have done it without me. The music cut. Heads turned. My mom's smile froze. Violet, she hissed. Sit down. But I stepped toward the small stage instead. I won't make a scene, I said, my voice shaking but clear. But since we're thanking people, I'd like to clarify something. I took the mic from my stunned dad. I'm Violet, I said, forcing a smile. I'm the older daughter. For the last several years, I've been paying my parents' mortgage and most of their bills. Quietly, no one asked me to brag about it. There was a murmur through the room. Emily looked like she might faint. Jason's parents looked confused. But tonight, I continued. I watched my parents give away the house I helped keep, as if it was theirs alone to gift, without ever acknowledging what went into it. And that hurt more than I can explain. I turned to Emily, my voice softening. I love you. This isn't your fault alone. But I can't keep pretending I'm okay with being invisible. I handed the mic back before anyone could stop me. Jason's mom whispered something to him, her eyes widening. A couple of my cousins stared at my parents with new, sharper eyes. My mom's face was pale. My dad looked like someone had just unplugged him. I walked off the stage and straight out of the hall, my heart pounding. I half expected someone to run after me, to drag me back and call me dramatic. And no one did. Outside, in the cool night air, I let out a shaky breath. For the first time in years, I felt free. Maybe I hadn't gotten the house, but I'd reclaimed my story. The fallout came slowly. Jason's parents, it turned out, were not thrilled to learn their wedding gift house had been kept afloat by the maid of honor. They insisted on seeing financial records. They didn't want their son moving into a place that could be seized if my parents fell behind again. Within a month, Emily called me, sobbing. They want us to rent instead, she cried. They said the house is too unstable. Mom and Dad are furious. Dad says you humiliated them. I told the truth, I said quietly. That's all. They're asking me to help with the mortgage now, she sniffed. They said since it was going to be our house, we should help pay. Jason's pissed. He says he's not paying for your parents' mess. A tiny, petty part of me felt satisfied. Another part just felt tired. I'm sorry you're in the middle of this, I said. But I'm done being the only one who sacrifices. In the end, the wedding gift house never transferred to Emily and Jason. To avoid losing it, my parents sold it and moved into a small rental apartment. They used some of the money to pay off remaining debts. I heard most of this through my aunt, who called it karma in a hushed tone. Emily and Jason rented a place of their own. Our relationship went distant for a while. She was angry at me, but over time, I think she started to see that I hadn't created the mess. I'd just stopped hiding it. As for me, I took the money I was finally keeping and did something my parents thought only existed in theoretical future plans. I bought my own small condo, not big, not fancy, but mine. Every tile, every bill, every squeaky cabinet paid for by me, for me. When I signed the papers and held my own keys, I cried again. But this time, it was relief, victory. Months later, my dad called. I drove past the old house today, he said. His voice sounded older, smaller. It felt strange not going inside. I didn't say anything. Violet, he continued, I've been thinking about what you said. About the mortgage. About everything. We took advantage of you. We told ourselves it was family, that you'd understand. But we never really asked what it cost you. Tears stung my eyes. You hurt me, I said quietly, deeply. I know, he replied. I don't expect you to forgive us quickly, but I want you to know, I'm proud of you, for standing up for yourself, even if it was against us. My mom took longer. Pride is a stubborn thing. Eventually, she called too. I still think you could have handled it more. Privately, she said. I handled it privately for years, I replied. You just didn't listen. Silence. Then softly, I'm sorry, she whispered, for making you feel like a wallet instead of a daughter. It wasn't a perfect apology. It came too late to fix everything. But it was a start. We're not the same family we used to be. Maybe that's a good thing. Maybe sometimes, you have to let the old version burn down so something healthier can grow. Now, when I stand on the tiny balcony of my condo and look at the city lights, I think about that house sometimes. Would I have been happy living there? Knowing it came from resentment and unpaid gratitude? Probably not. My revenge wasn't taking anything from them. It was stopping them from taking endlessly from me. It was forcing the truth into the light so no one could pretend anymore. I didn't get the home I grew up in, but I got something better. My own home, my own boundaries, and the knowledge that I will never again mistake self-sacrifice for love. If you were in my shoes, what would you have done? Would you have stayed quiet and kept paying, or walked away like I did? Let me know in the comments. I read them all. And if you want more real-life revenge stories like mine, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell so you don't miss the next one.